what I do is I'll open it up, and if I'll guess, and then I'll tell you what I think about the story, okay? Then we'll get all the way through, and we'll get to the end. You'll tell me right or wrong. And then afterwards, if I'm right, then we'll talk about what the story means to you and why you picked it. And if I'm wrong, we'll talk about the story that it actually is. Okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Wow. Now this one, is there significant that the bread is burnt? Okay, I gotta think about this. Burnt bread. Wow, this one is like, I have no idea. Let me think. Well, I'll just go with what I can't think of anything with burnt bread, but I'll just say what I think of when I see bread. So at the end of, when Jesus was getting at the end of his life, he gathered all of his disciples together, and he decided that he wanted to teach them how to take communion, or what communion would mean. So he said, there's a couple things that I want you to do. One is that I want you to take bread, and I want you to break it. And when you break this bread and you eat it, that you'll remember that my body's going to be broken for you, right? So he was going to go, and one of the things we know about Jesus before he went to the cross is like, he was beaten pretty bad. And so it's to remember that he did that for you, right? The idea that his body was broken for you, and that I want you to take this juice or this wine and drink it and remember that my blood was shed for you. And so he says, one of the things that I want you to do after Jesus rose from the dead was to do that often, where you take bread and you take wine, which we call communion, and you remember the sacrifice that Jesus made for you. And so since I'm pretty sure I'm not right, we'll go on and you tell me what it really means.
Okay, so this means, like, this is the blazing furnace. And so technically, so God is like the bread of life.
Okay.
And if Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't have the faith they did, they could have been burnt.
They'd end up like a burnt piece of toast.
Yes.
That is awesome.
But since they had faith, they weren't burnt.
Right.
So that shows you that God can deliver us from,
no matter what.
Yeah.
Like no matter what trials we have, here's the key, right? That God will always be with us.
Yeah.
Because isn't that the neat thing about the story, to think that if you looked inside of the furnace, can you imagine this? Like if you looked in there and you saw an angel.
Or you saw 4 people and you threw 3 people in.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing to sit there and think like, wow, that there's 4 people in there and one of them has to be an angel that God sent, knowing that like he's there to protect them and take care of them. So by faith, we will not end up like a burnt piece of toast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. Good job.
Thank
That
you.
was a good one.